And today our subject is something that I think everyone, maybe not everyone in the world, can't always assume, but most people in the world love in some variety. Would that be a first statement?
I think so, yes, if they have the time to do it.
And the equipment to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are we talking about today, Jude?
Well, today, Dave, we are talking about television.
Television, which you may be watching us right now on your television.
Yes, we hope so.
If you're on our YouTube channel, which is available on YouTube on television. So check us out if you're not, and subscribe. Always got to do the plug.
Love the plug.
I love television. Just, I guess it's like we've been raised with it, right? I know I have.
We've been raised with it, but hasn't it evolved so much since when we were kids? Because I know you are very much like me, and we had, at the beginning, only 4 channels to choose from. And then I remember when Channel 5 came in.
I know, that's such a beginning, launched by the Spice Girls.
Say again?
It was launched by the Spice Girls.
Good memory. Impressed.
Yeah.
Of course you'd know that.
I am a pop fan, as my Girls Aloud t-shirt also demonstrates. But we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, loving the pink, by the way. Really suits you.
Yeah, no, I remember then we got Channel 5, so this is UK television channels. Now, I don't have enough time. I have too many options.
And this is the thing, I find it quite frustrating that we have all these options, yet sometimes I sit down and I just want to de-stress for like half an hour, 45 minutes at the end of the day, and I just feel like there is nothing to watch. But we have this like ridiculous amounts of content, but just can't ever really find anything that's really going to kind of engage me.
And this is the thing, is that I go back and watch other things that I've already watched.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, I've got all of these subscriptions. And actually, it's interesting from a television perspective, is we all used to have like this, like we had Fox or a whole thing where you subscribed and you paid a lot of money and you got everything. And you could have lots of different kind of packages added. Then that was like too expensive. So then you used to like do little ones like Netflix and HBO. And it's like $6 and $10. Now I feel I pay exactly the same price as I did before because I've got about 6 or 7 subscriptions.
But there is some joy in the fact that we have that luxury of choice, isn't there? Because we know we can just like get rid of the stuff that's just not going to appeal to us, and we can just focus on the stuff that does. Because at the end of the day, it's entertainment, isn't it? We just need, for me, I'm not somebody that wants to sit down and understand political affairs and understand what's going on in the world, because let's all, well, from my point of view, it's all very depressing right now. So I'd rather have the escapism option where I can just be taken to another dimension and I can just enjoy mindful numbingness of whatever reality BS there might be on, which I love, FYI, and I will go into that later. But yeah, it's just wonderful having that luxury of choice to be able to cherry pick what it is that you want.
It is. And I think as we go through this conversation, we must learn some things of some of our favorite TV shows and things like that. But I do love how, with all subscriptions, as whilst I complain about I've got so many, it is then pushing the bar up in relation to the level of quality, and whether it's drama, whatever it is, like when you know there's a good TV show, you hear about it and everyone flocks to it, and like everyone's like, oh my God, have you seen this? And it's like this huge momentum that you never used to hear as much, I don't think. Well, actually,
well, you're right, because back in the day, we'd have to wait a week for the next episode. Now we have the luxury of binge watching 10 episodes in a whole weekend if we're really so inclined.
It's like, no, I can't sit in the movies for 10 hours and watch a movie, but I will binge watch at home quite happily.
Absolutely. And what brings you more joy than being able to do that from the luxury of your own sofa with all of your nice little, like your pot of popcorn or your glass of wine or your chocolate or whatever it may be, and you just know that you can just sit back, kick back, relax, and just enjoy. I mean, that's pretty awesome, isn't it?
A glass of wine, Jude.
I was trying to be like, drink responsibly, Dade. We've got an audience to like look up to.
Well, per disclaimer, please drink responsibly.
Yes.
But that's the thing, actually, going back, so I think when like you go back, no, look, you go back, there's classic TV shows, but I also remember like things where, which like when you started to hear about this momentum of a TV show, I remember like when Neighbours really like kicked off, when Kylie and Jason, or Charlene and
Scott,
thank you, like got married. Like that really then was like big TV, big overall, right?
you remember the song they got married to?
Especially for you.
Oh, wasn't it? Oh, what? I thought it was Suddenly.
Oh, I thought
Oh,
especially for you.
what was the Suddenly one? Suddenly you're hearing me.
Oh yeah.
And I'm running just as fast as I can to you. Suddenly. What part was that in? That was the Neighbours. That was a
There
classic.
was Neighbours when she walked down the aisle, but
Yeah,
but maybe especially with you, we will look into it and come
God,
back.
we're gonna have to look into it. But yes, and we still remember that from how long ago?
I know, right? We was actually singing the song. So
Yeah.
And there's been those moments in TV, right? Like if you think people talk about some of the classics, like MASH, there was some great kind of TV shows. Are You Being Served, which is a very old, very entertaining TV show. But also like some of the classics we mentioned before on here, Mork and Mindy, some of those TV shows that really started to build the genre of television, or the momentum of television.
Absolutely, it was iconic, wasn't it? I also remember always being a young girl, and my dad would always have Terry Wogan on BBC One
Terry.
at 7 o'clock. I miss Terry. God rest your soul, Terry. What a legend he was.
If you think around it as well, like if you think back generation,
Have another drink, Dave.
Is then like it was such a big thing when people got a television and it was black and white, right?
Yes.
They were quite big. They were quite big and boxy or small and things like that. And there's like everyone gathered around to watch the moon landing and things like that. And there were certain things when they started to broadcast. And
I remember
it wasn't that I had a black and white TV in my bedroom at one point.
Yeah.
And then it got upgraded to a color TV, which is a lot better. But if you think like back then, it was like, oh, we've got a television. And now
it was a massive deal.
Yeah, and now we've got like screens everywhere where we watch things all the time. Like I can see 3-4 screens right in front of me now. My normal screen, my laptop, my iPad, my phone, all I can watch TV on.
It's crazy. I remember that when you took me down memory lane, actually, when you just said, I remember my first TV, because I do too. And it was my grandparents' old TV that they had. And it was probably quite a small square box. But to turn the channel, it had a dial. So you had to spin it around to try to get the channel. And then, of course, the aerial situation, moving the aerial out the back of the TV, that long metal stick,
used to be like,
trying to like wiggle it around.
Have you got it? And it was always like up here, and you're like,
you'd be hanging out a window.
Just stay
don't move, don't sneeze. This is the best bit. I mean, that was what we did.
It was. And if you're a young person watching this right now, please Google it, because we're not making this stuff up. This stuff actually used to happen. Yeah,
and God, I'm also making myself sound very old.
Yes, we were part of the black and white TV era at some point.
Yeah.
Google that, and then you'll find out. Well, we've always spoken about how old we are, so on these podcasts.
I know.
So that's not a problem. But I think, as TV's gone on, it's been that comfort sometimes, right? It's been a sound, not a soundtrack. It's been a companion through people's lives. I tell you one thing. It's something that's been on recently, is the Olympics, right? That is such a big thing that's televised. So, and the billions of people that watch it, and it unites people.
Yes.
To bring people together. So the power of television also brings people together. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I think to that point, the actors and actresses that appear on these shows, I'm thinking primarily of soaps in England. I mean, we grew up on EastEnders. You were either EastEnders or Coronation Street or both. And the drums, you'd always wait when you heard those drums, you know, like, no, I've got to wait a whole 2 nights or whatever it was before the next episode. But we've watched those actors. They've grown as we've grown. And I, dare I say it, I don't know how many years EastEnders has been on the TV now, but it's still going strong, isn't it, in the UK? And
there's still people on it for like 20 years ago.
Right, and then they go, and then they come back, like Letitia Dean, Sharon,
It's a lot. Like, it still means that it's a community, which is quite reflective sometimes, because people do move away, right? So they are quite reflective. And that's the thing, I do love the different kind of like soaps, obviously. Here in America, you've got Days of Our Lives that's been running for ages. So you have those kind of staple soaps. In Australia, it was Neighbours and Home and Away.
Yeah.
Here you have all different ones, but then it's just evolved. So then you had like your sitcoms. Your sitcoms have been really good, and one of the biggest ones that is still my favorite to this day is Friends.
Yeah.
Love Friends. I still watch it to this day, even though it finished 20 years ago, which is
It never ever tires, in
never.
my opinion.
I
It
don't think it
never
does.
tires.
I honestly think it's still funny. I still laugh at it, even though I must be know it word for word.
Yeah.
Friends would be my specialized subject on Mastermind.
Oh, I love that. Maybe we should have a podcast where we can have a little quiz off.
All right, well, do a little
And
Friends quiz off version of Friends.
I love that.
Bring it on. Bring it
Yeah,
on.
all right, done. That's a new podcast right here. That just happened live.
All right, we'll book that in.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to say much more about Friends in case I give anything away.
Oh, I see. The competitiveness is coming out, I see.
Very, very.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
and then it's like, and before that, obviously you had Cheers. Like, there's been some really good Seinfeld. What are some of yours that you remember?
Well, I was always going back through the ages. It was always Come Home, Watch Neighbours, and Home and Away because they were back to back.
Yeah.
And then it would always be EastEnders. I was never really into Coronation Street.
No, Mum was, yeah.
I used to, well, as I got older, I would come back and watch Cheers, maybe because that was always on late on a Friday night. But I wouldn't. I mean, and Frasier. They were two big ones because a lot of the American content used to come over to England, didn't it?
Yeah,
So
and it used to be like Roseanne, and then
yes, Roseanne. I love Roseanne, and what was that one with the young girl? Oh gosh,
Blossom.
Yes, well done. Yes, Blossom. I used to watch that too. Gosh, you're brilliant. I think I'm a bit worried about this Friends quiz now.
But you've said it on a podcast.
I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, and then because it used to be like, I can't remember. I think there was Wonder Years. There used to be like a Friday night. It used to be like Roseanne. Then it was Frasier. Then there was something else.
Yeah, I think Cheers.
Yeah, so there was just a whole like back to back of American TV shows, which was great. I loved all of those. And then as it advanced, it moved on to Friends, obviously, and then Will and Grace as well.
Yeah, I mean, what happened in that bit between that and what we've got now? Was Netflix what Netflix was one of those very first opportunities where you had all this content. I didn't really understand it, but when I don't even know when that came out to market. But I'm just having a grey moment of what happened kind of from like the early, what would I have been like the early 2000s to whenever Netflix came out, which I don't know what the year was. But like I remember going through box sets, but it was primarily Friends. That was all I really ever watched, or whatever was on the TV, because back then, of course, we had the ability to record TV shows.
We did.
So we would have like a VHS recorder, you'd put a tape in it, you'd set the timer, it would, if you were going out for
just to write on it, do not tape over.
Yeah. That was what we did, wasn't it? So, but it's interesting because I've kind of forgotten what happened between that point to that point.
So look, obviously TV shows kept being made, and the Netflix came about because it used to be a movie delivery service. So it used to send out DVDs, and you were mailed them out, watch them, and then send them back, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, actually, we're getting a lot of people actually. So then they were like, well, how can we do it? And that's when they launched the online platform.
Yeah.
And that's when it all started to kick off. And I can't remember what year that was.
No, I'm interested to know, but that must have been part of the death of blockbusters as well.
And that's the thing. Do you remember when you used to go, and we're still watching television in some way, you used to go to Blockbusters, and it was such an event to go to Blockbusters.
Yeah, it really was.
And you used to sometimes go, and you had an idea of the movie you wanted, and they're like, sorry, we're out.
Yeah, I got 10 copies and they've all gone because the latest release would just come out, and you'd be like, God damn it, we'd had to be there first, first and up early, but we were never there. It was always an afternoon thing when we would tick a box and be really glad that we went to Sainsbury's local and managed to think about dinner and then managed to get a movie, and that was like basically all we could do in a day in our 20s. When we at the weekends, I mean, not in the week, we were twice a week.
So Netflix was founded in 1997 The first people of owners considered shipping VHSs, and then they found that was too expensive and too delicate to ship, and then they discovered DVDs, and then launched in the US in 1997.
Oh, okay, so it was the late 90s. So then by the time it kind of came our way, it probably would have been the early 2000s.
And that's the thing, it just grew and grew, and now look at it.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah.
Look at it. It's just a huge kind of global kind of thing.
Yeah.
That continues to kind of grow. But now you've got all of these other streaming services, and all studios, TV companies want their own. And it's just don't have enough time. I wish I did.
No, you don't. But how do you feel when you do pay for a subscription service like that you then get charged if you want to do like a pay-per-view or something that's going to be like newly released and you want to kind of watch it, but then you're being charged an additional premium? I feel like that's kind of annoying because you're already a customer, you already bought into something, and then like, you know, this happened to us recently with the England and the Euros. You know, we couldn't watch it down the local pub because it was reserved seating only. So it was a case of, right, well, let's move the people that we were due to meet in the pub. Let's go back to our house. Let's set up a pay-per-view, free for the first 7 days. Brilliant. But then after that, it's like $80 a month or something. It's like, huh?
No, that's cable, right? That's cable, right? And that's the thing is, I've tried cable a few times, and I'm like, so expensive. So expensive.
And then we go back to all the channels that we don't want, all of the other things that we don't want to watch.
They're like, oh, and you get like free sports. I'm like, I don't watch sports.
No, thank you.
Take that off. What is that? Like, can't take it off. I'm like, why are you forcing sports on me? Yes.
Yeah, and those prices get really hefty. They're like a couple of $100 a month, and more depending on what you decide to go for.
It does start to get very expensive for sure.
It really
does. I do
does.
shop around sometimes. Like sometimes I've gone from like one cable thing, try it for a week, to another, to try it to a week, and I'm always like, cancel once I watch the program.
Don't forget to write that down and cancel, otherwise suddenly your credit card bill is going to be like, woo.
And that's the thing, you just go, do your due diligence. Do your due diligence.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so what have you been watching of late?
Oh, I was literally going to ask you the same question. So I've just been watching this amazing show with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's...
is that his detective show or the lawyer show?
The lawyer, when he's the lawyer and he gets accused of murder, and it's called Presumed Innocent.
Yes, so I want to watch that because that's on Apple TV.
Absolutely brilliant. Loved it.
Have you seen The Last Thing He Told Me on Apple TV?
No, but I'm loving this recommendation.
Yeah, Jennifer Garner is in it. Amazing.
Is it a movie or a series?
No, it's a TV show, right?
The Last Thing He Told Me.
The Last Thing He Told Me. Right.
Oh, Dave, I love you. I love it when I get a good series.
So good. Obviously, the morning show on Apple TV.
Amazing.
Like, I'm so glad they're already doing season 4.
Oh, thank you.
I'm enjoying Loot on Apple TV. Ted Lasso on Apple TV.
Yeah. What did you say before that?
Loot. Hello. So you know Mayor Rudolph, or who's?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
TV show. So she's just got renewed for season 3.
Yep.
So I've been watching that. I'm currently watching the Last Airbender.
Okay, yep, that's
on
very
Netflix.
you. Yep. Have you seen Sexy Beast? Not the movie.
No.
The TV series. It's on Prime. You're going to thank me for that. It's very gritty, grimy London, you know, a bit kind of... Well, that's the best way I could describe it. Gritty, grimy London.
And the thing, I've got a list on my phone of things I want to watch. I just never get... I just like...
I know.
What are you going to watch now? Like even like things like The Mayor of Easttown with Kate Winslet. Shit, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I want to watch the Jeremy Renner, the mayor of something else. He's the mayor of something as well. So he's got a detective show. True Detectives with Jodie Foster. I want to watch that.
Yeah, they're all amazing.
I'm like, I don't like. I literally sometimes just go, I only have like 2 episodes in me a night.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I don't get a chance to sit down for 2 hours a night every night. So it's just.
But the good thing is if you store it up and bank it up, then you know that when you do have that moment, or, you know, inclement weather comes to LA, you know that you've got like a whole day where you can just have a little session if you want it.
And true. And the one thing I will say I will always have time for, and I will binge watch instantly, is anything Marvel or Star Wars.
I knew you were going to say that too. I mean, that's just a given, surely. You see, the issue with me, like, you're a busy man working all hours, you know, because that's what you do, and you have a lot of pressure there. For me, it's the absolute opposite. Like I'm like I'm a mum, and now my children are getting older, they're staying up later, and of course they want to stay and enjoy what we're watching. But sometimes, well, most of the time, a lot of the content that my husband and I want to watch just isn't age appropriate. But there is something we just came across, which is, it's very easy watching, but it's also family friendly. And I'm a big fan of, bringing the family together to watch a family movie or a family show, but they're very few and far between. But this one's really good, and it's called Acapulco. I don't know if you've seen that or heard about it, but it's a very easy, heartwarming show that everybody can watch. But it's one of the things that the kids just sit down and say, "Can we watch Acapulco?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" And it's just nice for us to be together, because I think the television is also a great opportunity to bring people together.
Look at it. Like, we used to watch the Queen's speech at the time and gather around the television and hear the Queen's speech, or, as I said, the Olympics, or there are certain things it does do to bring people together as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got together, haven't we, to watch some of the finals of RuPaul and elections and those kind of like, this big kind of like monumental occasions, which RuPaul absolutely sits within, by the way. We have to get together and get a group of people around to enjoy that moment and to share that celebration. And that's what is really lovely about that kind of communal aspect of TV. So yeah.
Just you mentioned about your kid. How do you manage that? I know parents are like, no TV time until you've done this. Like, how do you monitor that yourself?
Oh, I'm quite religious. I'm quite particular about an order of things that have to happen. So, after school, there's no TV on until homework's done, school bags are checked, packed lunches have been made by the children ready for the next day, bedrooms are tidy. So there's a whole kind of number of things that have to be done before the controls are even going in their direction. And if none of those things have got done, then they're in separate rooms until they are done. And then once I'm satisfied that everything's where it needs to be, that's the kind of downtime, so they can play in the garden, or we can, watch some TV and stuff. But, that's a real hard aspect of being a parent, is the amount of consumption of,
absolutely.
TV. And of course, it's not just TV now, it's like Netflix, and then it's like having a passcode for that, and then they want YouTube, and it's just like, it's just a minefield of like,
And that's the thing, it's a lot. It's like, oh, I don't know what's in that program. Do I need to watch it first to make sure it's appropriate? Or
exactly.
Just because your mate has watched it doesn't mean you can watch it. And I'm sure there's those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the parental controls, and I'm a bit of a stickler for that. I'm all for them growing up, but I don't want them to grow up too quickly. They're still quite young, and I know that they're hearing certain words and they're hearing certain content. But that's the other thing that's quite hard, is that the other kids talk about, have you seen that show? And there was one show which I won't name, that was on Netflix, and it was TV 14, and we have our restrictions on what they can actually see. But I'd watched one and I thought it was okay, but then I tapped into just a little part of it, and then I allowed my son to watch it, and then it triggered him to have a whole heap of nightmares. So I went back to go and watch this show, which was on Netflix Kids, so I kind of thought it would be acceptable. And when I watched it myself, I was like, this is horrendous. Like, this is too much for that age. Because, kids go to bed and their minds, work overtime, and these kind of things come into their heads. And it's such a hard job as a parent, if you want to be like me and just kind of like police it to a certain point. Like, they're going to be able to consume as much as they want as they get older. But just in this kind of delicate time frame, I feel it's really important to just monitor and navigate what they're seeing, because it can really like affect you, as it did my son.
And that's like, but also I think sometimes, so you got that kind of, you want to control and things like that. Sometimes it does come in handy where you're out with like a group and you're like, oh yeah, just take your iPad and just watch whatever you want, just to keep them distracted.
Yeah, but again, it's quite nice, because if you have the parental controls, that's one of the things I do feel like free from, because I know that wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, if they're logged in as they should be, which obviously is controlled by us, then I have that peace of mind that I know that they're not going to be observing anything. There's going to be times when they're going to be around a mate's house. I'm not stupid. I understand that, but you can only control what happens within the four walls of your house, right? You can't control what happens outside of it. So whilst they're young, I'm coming down with the hammer,
And how do we feel about reality TV?
I am such a reality TV slut, like, in all ways. Just talk to me about Love Island. Massive fan. Watched Australia, US, and UK. I know, but do you know what? It's always a happy story, or not. It's got a bit of drama in it. It's nothing too taxing. If you just need to go, at the end of the day, it's just a super turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off. So I am a big fan of that. I mean, I was a big fan of all the Big Brothers. I'm Love is Blind. I mean, all of those reality things that my husband literally goes, "You're ruining the few brain cells that you do have." And I'm like, well.
Yeah, I used to be more into reality TV, but I don't watch it as much. Like, I did watch some of the Real Housewives for a bit. I don't watch it as much as what some of my friends do. I'm very proud to say I've never watched an episode of The Kardashians ever.
Not,
not.
I'm guilty.
Not my thing. But it's just like the amount of reality TV shows now, right?
Yeah,
And it's like,
I think
some of them I'm like, what, like, why are you going on television and saying these things?
Yeah, I mean, look, it has become, unfortunately, quite gorish in terms of the volume of that kind of product, and depending on where you sit in your generation. The sad thing is that there's so many young kids that aspire to be like that, and it is all about like the fame and the social media. And you know, we're older and wiser, so I feel like we're privileged enough to be able to see it for what it really is. But the impressionable youth that really do kind of aspire to be that, I think that if I was a mum of a girl or a boy that was kind of aspiring to like be on these shows because they, you know, they haven't got anything else really going for them, and they feel that fame is the thing, you know, they have to look a certain way, they have to speak a certain way, they have to act a certain way. I feel like that's quite, you know, sad, for want of a better word. But, you know, not everybody does feel that way, but I'm just saying those that do, and there are kids that do, I feel like that's, you know, it's not necessarily a positive influence. Although I do feel like in the example, like the Kardashians, I think that they started off in one particular place, and I really do feel that they have moved on as they've grown up, right, over the last 20 odd years of being on TV. They are definitely trying to put more positive energy from their fame out there, rather than just looking, you know, as gorgeous as they do. Yeah.
Well, look, this has been a great chat for us, and I think we are going to be having that friends battle.
I am swatting up.
And this has been another random chat with Dade and Jude. I'm Dade.
And I'm Jude.
And we will chat to you very soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.